Was awkward, painfully shy, and terrified to stand before the class, I still knew exactly what I wanted to do: a demonstration of different methods of cake decorating, using a standard 2-layer I had baked as a prop. Easy peasy. The day of our presentations arrived, and I was petrified but excited. After all, I thought, how could I go wrong with a topic like cake? Then it came to be my turn, and I, decked out in my best Esprit sweatshirt and ribbon barrettes, proceeded to inform the class how they could make their cakes more beautiful and interesting, which, I'm sure, had my pre-adolescent classmates simply riveted. This was 1982, mind you, before Martha Stewart did for homemaking what Edward Cullen did for being alarmingly pale. Making cakes and cookies wasn't even remotely cool. It was what grannies did when they weren't crocheting throw blankets in shades of mustard and avocado. Nonetheless, everything seemed to be going along fairly well, until I got to the part about making designs in the frosting using the tines of a fork. After chocolate shavings and shaking powdered sugar through a doily, this was pretty much my big finish. It was then that I realized, with horror, that I had forgotten the fork. Oh. This was one in a series of moments in 7th grade when I fervently wished I had a shell in which to curl up and disappear. But lacking that, I instead turned a lovely shade of beet and attempted to mime the fork part. Worse public speaking debacles have happened, I imagine, but you couldn't have convinced me of that then. However, despite the fork faux pas and my appalling lack of public speaking skills, all was not lost. My English teacher liked the speech, but she loved the cake. I have a distinct memory of her pink, round face beaming as we all dug into our slices. I received what was in all likelihood a wholly undeserved A. That was proof enough for me in the power of sweet. Wait, what did we eat our slices with? 'Cause that was the crux of the story. I had no fork, right? Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe we used spoons? Or fingers? Chopsticks? As far back as I can remember, I've always loved to bake. Once, when I was perhaps 7 or 8 years old, I created a carefully hand-lettered menu and invited everyone in the family to my restaurant. Forensic analysis of that menu now reveals that I let Mom worry about the incidental entree of steak and baked potato. Yeah, whatever. While I focused on what was really important: apple cobbler for dessert. The menu even featured a fanciful illustration of the pièce de résistance on the cover. As far as I was concerned, I had made dinner. Like most kids, I knew dessert was something special, something magical. Every once in a while, my mother would handily transform a pile of fruit into a pie, handing us down the pastry scraps, which my brother and I would roll into little balls and eat raw while we climbed trees in the backyard. I pined for an easy-bake oven in which to make my very own magical concoctions, but sadly, Santa ignored my culinary aspirations. Also, my request for a Barbie styling head and Wonder Woman underoos. So I pestered my mom to let me use the real oven until she finally relented. I made box cakes from the time I could reach the kitchen counter. I remember my shock the first time flour exploded high into the air because I turned the mixer on too high, too fast. My cavernous disappointment the first time I tried to make a recipe without a key ingredient. Baking powder, perhaps? I mean, how important could that half a teaspoon really be? And it came out like warmed over mud. Still, I would bake at the drop of a hat.